What if I told you that right now, at this very moment, one of the most powerful, performance-enhancing, and health-supporting beverages is sitting in the produce section of your local grocery store? And what if I also told you that almost everyone who drinks it is doing it completely wrong? They're missing out on an exponential amplification of its effects by not knowing one simple secret that the latest cardiovascular research has uncovered. Stay with me, because I'm Dr. William, and I'm about to show you not just what this liquid truly does inside your body, but more importantly, how to multiply its benefits by combining it with 3 specific ingredients that create what researchers are now calling a convergent amplification effect on your circulatory system. The liquid we're talking about is something that Olympic athletes consume before their most important competitions. It's something that elite endurance competitors have made part of their training protocols because the performance gains are measurable and reproducible. It's something that cardiologists are increasingly recommending to patients who come to them worried about their heart health or their circulation. And it's something that's been the subject of hundreds of peer-reviewed scientific studies conducted at some of the world's most prestigious universities. That substance is beet juice. And what makes it so remarkable is that its mechanism isn't some vague traditional remedy or anecdotal evidence. The way beet juice works in your body is precisely understood at the molecular level through rigorous science. But here's what separates the people who are getting genuine, life-changing benefits from beet juice from the people who are wasting their time drinking it like it's just another health fad. Most people don't know that the power of beet juice can be multiplied, amplified, and dramatically enhanced by adding certain ingredients that work through distinct biological pathways to create effects that are not merely additive, but truly synergistic. When I say synergistic, I mean that 1 + 1 + 1 doesn't equal 3. It equals something far greater. These ingredients interact with the biological systems that beet juice activates in ways that create exponential benefits rather than linear ones. Let me take you on a journey into the cardiovascular science that makes this possible. I want you to understand not just the what, but the precise how and the why, because once you understand the mechanism, you'll understand why these specific combinations are so powerful. Let's start with beet juice itself, because the foundation of understanding beet juice is essential before you can appreciate how other compounds can amplify its effects. Beets contain an extraordinary abundance of something called inorganic dietary nitrates. These aren't some exotic supplement ingredient. They're simply compounds that exist naturally in many foods, but beets contain them in particularly high concentrations. When you drink beet juice, these nitrates enter your digestive system and move into your bloodstream. But something absolutely fascinating happens next. The nitrates don't directly affect your blood vessels. They can't. They need to be transformed through a very specific biological pathway before they become active and useful. This transformation begins somewhere you probably wouldn't expect. It happens in your mouth. On the back of your tongue, there's a population of bacteria that live on your oral surfaces. These bacteria have specific enzymes called nitrate reductases, and their job is to convert dietary nitrates into nitrites. This is a crucial step, and I'll explain why this matters so intensely in just a moment. Once you swallow, the nitrites enter your stomach, and here's where the acidic environment becomes important. In the acidic stomach, those nitrites are further converted into nitric oxide. But the conversion doesn't stop there. As the mixture moves into your bloodstream and circulates throughout your body, additional conversions occur at the tissue level, particularly in the walls of your blood vessels themselves. Enzymes in those vessel walls transform remaining nitrites into nitric oxide in the exact location where it's needed most. Now, nitric oxide is something special. It's not just another molecule. It's one of the most important signaling molecules in your entire cardiovascular system. When nitric oxide is released near the smooth muscle cells that surround your blood vessels, it activates an enzyme called guanylate cyclase. This enzyme produces something called cyclic GMP, which is a secondary messenger. This messenger sends a clear signal to the smooth muscle cells, and that signal says, relax. When those muscle cells relax, the blood vessels expand and widen. When blood vessels widen, the resistance to blood flow decreases dramatically. And when resistance to blood flow decreases, circulation improves throughout your entire body. Think about this for a moment. Every single organ in your body depends on blood flow. Your brain, your heart, your kidneys, your eyes, your muscles, every tissue and every cell is constantly demanding oxygen and nutrients that are delivered through blood. When you improve blood flow, you improve the oxygen and nutrient delivery to literally every part of your system. This is why the effects of beet juice are so widespread and why people report benefits beyond just their cardiovascular system. Here's something that makes beet juice uniquely effective, especially as you age. Your body has another pathway for producing nitric oxide called the endothelial pathway. Your endothelial cells, which are the cells lining your blood vessels, can produce nitric oxide directly using an enzyme called endothelial nitric oxide synthase and using an amino acid called arginine as the raw material. This endothelial pathway is important, and it's supported by compounds like EGCG from green tea, epicatechin from cacao, and eugenol from cloves. But here's the problem. As you age, your endothelial function naturally declines. Your endothelial cells become less efficient at producing nitric oxide. The endothelial pathway becomes progressively less functional. The beet juice pathway doesn't depend on endothelial function at all. It completely bypasses the endothelium. The nitrates from beet juice are converted to nitric oxide through an entirely separate biological route that remains fully functional regardless of how impaired your endothelial function has become. This is why beet juice is so remarkably effective for older adults whose endothelial function has already declined significantly. You're providing a completely independent source of nitric oxide that doesn't depend on the aging systems that have already lost their efficiency. Clinical studies have documented impressive results. Research has shown that beet juice consumption can lower systolic blood pressure by between 4 and 10 points. It improves exercise tolerance and physical endurance. It enhances blood flow to muscles during physical activity. It increases something called flow-mediated dilation, which is the gold standard measurement of how responsive and healthy your blood vessels are. And these effects can begin within just 2 to 3 hours of consumption. The effects can persist for up to 24 hours from a single serving. So, beet juice alone is powerful. But now I need to tell you about 3 specific ingredients that, when combined with beet juice, create effects that researchers have described as synergistic rather than merely additive. These aren't exotic compounds. They aren't expensive supplements. They're simple, widely available ingredients that you can find in any grocery store. And understanding how they work with beet juice to amplify its effects is genuinely fascinating. The first ingredient that I recommend adding to your beet juice is fresh lemon juice. And the mechanism of why this works is rooted in the specific chemistry of nitrate conversion in your body. Remember when I explained that the conversion of nitrites to nitric oxide in your stomach is heavily dependent on acidity? That wasn't just background information. That's actually critical. The more acidic the environment, the more efficiently this conversion happens. The more complete the conversion, the more nitric oxide you generate from the same amount of dietary nitrates. Fresh lemon juice is rich in citric acid. When you add lemon juice to beet juice, you increase the acidity of the entire beverage. When this more acidic mixture reaches your stomach, it creates optimal conditions for the nitrite to nitric oxide conversion. More nitrites are successfully converted. More nitric oxide is generated. The scientific research has specifically demonstrated that acidic conditions significantly enhance the rate and completeness of this conversion. The simple addition of lemon juice substantially increases the amount of nitric oxide your body produces from a given dose of dietary nitrates. But lemon juice provides an additional benefit beyond just optimizing acidity. Fresh lemon juice contains substantial amounts of vitamin C, also called ascorbic acid. And vitamin C plays a direct role in the nitrate pathway that's completely independent of the acidity effect. Vitamin C acts as a reducing agent that facilitates the conversion of nitrite to nitric oxide. It donates electrons that drive the conversion reaction forward. It acts as a biological catalyst that makes the chemistry more efficient. The published research specifically demonstrates that vitamin C enhances nitric oxide production from dietary nitrites in a dose-dependent manner. More vitamin C present means more nitric oxide generated. Vitamin C also provides its own direct vascular benefits that complement what beet juice is already doing. Vitamin C is essential for the synthesis of collagen, which provides the structural integrity of blood vessel walls. It protects nitric oxide from destruction by free radicals, which extends how long each nitric oxide molecule can exert its beneficial effects. It supports the regeneration of tetrahydrobiopterin, which is a cofactor required by the endothelial nitric oxide synthase enzyme. By supporting this cofactor, vitamin C helps maintain the endothelial pathway of nitric oxide production alongside the nitrate pathway provided by beet juice. You've now got two independent sources of nitric oxide operating simultaneously, both contributing to vessel relaxation and blood flow. To add lemon juice to your beet juice, the approach is simple. Squeeze the juice of one full fresh lemon into a standard glass of beet juice, which is approximately 200 to 250 milliliters. Stir thoroughly and consume. The tartness of the lemon complements the earthy sweetness of beet juice surprisingly well, creating a flavor profile that many people find more enjoyable and refreshing than plain beet juice alone. The second ingredient that powerfully amplifies beet juice's effects is raw ginger. And ginger addresses an aspect of blood flow that beet juice's nitrate pathway alone doesn't fully cover. Beet juice works by increasing nitric oxide, which causes blood vessels to relax and widen. This widening is called vasodilation, and it's absolutely the most important mechanism for improving blood flow. But here's something that many people don't realize. Blood flow isn't determined by vessel diameter alone. It's also heavily influenced by the viscosity of the blood itself. Viscosity is how thick and resistant to flow the blood is. Even if your blood vessels are wide open, if your blood is thick and sluggish, the net improvement in circulation will be severely limited. This is where ginger becomes so valuable. Ginger contains bioactive compounds called gingerols and shogaols that have significant effects on blood rheology, which is the science of how blood flows. These gingerols inhibit excessive aggregation of platelets, which is the clumping together of blood cells. When platelets aggregate excessively, blood becomes thicker, moves more slowly, and is less efficient at navigating through the smallest blood vessels where the critical exchange of oxygen and nutrients actually occurs. By reducing this excessive aggregation, ginger helps maintain optimal blood fluidity. The blood flows more freely through the widened vessels that beet juice's nitric oxide has opened. Think of it this way. Beet juice opens the highways. Ginger ensures the traffic flows smoothly through them. Wider vessels plus more fluid blood equals substantially better net circulation than either mechanism could produce alone. Ginger provides additional benefits beyond just blood fluidity. Ginger contains compounds that have significant anti-inflammatory effects on blood vessel walls. The gingerols inhibit the production of inflammatory prostaglandins and leukotrienes that damage the endothelial lining and reduce blood vessels' capacity to respond to nitric oxide signals. By reducing vascular inflammation, ginger helps maintain the responsiveness of your blood vessels to the nitric oxide that beet juice generates, ensuring that the signal to relax is received and acted upon efficiently. Additionally, ginger creates a thermogenic effect in the body. It slightly increases your core temperature, and your body responds to this temperature increase by triggering reflexive vasodilation as it works to distribute heat throughout your system. This thermogenic vasodilation operates through a completely independent mechanism from the nitric oxide pathway, adding yet another complementary route for blood flow enhancement on top of what beet juice is already providing. There's also fascinating emerging research suggesting that ginger compounds may support the oral bacteria that perform the crucial first step of the nitrate conversion pathway. The bacteria on your tongue that convert nitrates to nitrites are absolutely essential for beet juice to work effectively. Anything that supports the health and activity of these bacteria can enhance the overall effectiveness of dietary nitrate supplementation. While this research is still in its early stages, it represents another potential synergy between ginger and beet juice that may prove significant as the science develops further. To add ginger to your beet juice, grate approximately 1 to 2 teaspoons of fresh ginger root and either blend it directly into the juice or steep it in a small amount of warm water for 5 minutes, strain it, and add the ginger-infused liquid to your beet juice. Fresh ginger provides significantly more bioactive gingerols than dried ginger powder, so fresh is strongly preferred for this application. The spicy warmth of ginger adds an invigorating dimension to the flavor of beet juice that most people find extremely appealing. The third ingredient is the one I find most scientifically fascinating, and it's one that most people would never think to combine with beet juice. It's raw cacao powder. And I need to be very specific about this. I mean raw, unprocessed cacao powder, not cocoa powder, which has been heavily processed and stripped of most of its beneficial compounds. Raw cacao powder retains the full spectrum of flavonols that give cacao its remarkable health properties. And the reason this combination is so powerful involves a mechanism that creates what researchers call a convergent amplification effect, specifically on the cyclic GMP pathway. Let me explain this carefully because it's genuinely remarkable and it shows why these combinations work so well together. We discussed how nitric oxide from beet juice activates guanylate cyclase, which produces cyclic GMP, and how cyclic GMP tells smooth muscle cells to relax. But cyclic GMP doesn't last forever. It is constantly being broken down by an enzyme called phosphodiesterase type 5. This enzyme essentially chews up cyclic GMP and renders it inactive, which means the relaxation signal is constantly being terminated, even as new cyclic GMP is being produced. The net amount of cyclic GMP available at any given moment is determined by the balance between how fast cyclic GMP is produced and how fast it is destroyed. Beet juice increases the production side of this equation by providing more nitric oxide to stimulate guanylate cyclase. But raw cacao works on the destruction side of the equation. The flavonols in cacao, particularly epicatechin, have been shown to inhibit phosphodiesterase enzymes, reducing the rate at which cyclic GMP is broken down. When cyclic GMP is broken down more slowly, it accumulates to higher levels inside smooth muscle cells, producing a stronger and more sustained relaxation signal. This is the convergent amplification I mentioned earlier. Beet juice increases cyclic GMP production by providing more nitric oxide. Cacao reduces cyclic GMP destruction by inhibiting the enzyme that breaks it down. When both of these effects occur simultaneously, the net increase in cyclic GMP levels is dramatically greater than either effect could produce alone. The mathematical relationship is not simply additive, it's multiplicative. You're pushing the accelerator while simultaneously releasing the brake, and the net forward motion is far greater than either action alone would produce. But the benefits of cacao don't stop at phosphodiesterase inhibition. The flavonols in cacao, especially epicatechin, also directly stimulate the endothelial nitric oxide synthase enzyme, which means cacao is simultaneously boosting nitric oxide production through the endothelial pathway, while beet juice is boosting it through the nitrate pathway. These are two completely independent sources of nitric oxide feeding into the same guanylate cyclase enzyme, and the phosphodiesterase inhibition from cacao is ensuring that the cyclic GMP produced by both sources accumulates to maximum levels. The three-dimensional synergy here is really quite exceptional. More nitric oxide production from two independent sources combined with less destruction of the downstream signaling molecule. Cacao also provides significant amounts of magnesium, which supports blood vessel relaxation and healthy circulation through its role as a natural calcium channel regulator. It contains theobromine, a mild vasodilator that promotes blood vessel widening through yet another independent mechanism. And it provides a broad spectrum of polyphenolic antioxidants that protect both the nitric oxide produced from beet juice and the nitric oxide produced through the endothelial pathway from free radical destruction and vascular damage. To add raw cacao to your beet juice, blend 1 to 2 tablespoons of raw cacao powder directly into your glass of beet juice. A blender or vigorous whisking works best because cacao powder doesn't dissolve as readily as some other additions. The deep chocolate flavor of raw cacao combined with the earthy sweetness of beet juice creates a remarkably rich and satisfying beverage that many people find absolutely delicious, especially when the lemon juice and ginger from the first two additions are also included. Now, let me paint the complete picture of what you've created when you combine all three additions with your beet juice. You have beet juice providing abundant dietary nitrates that are converted through the oral bacteria and stomach acid pathway into nitric oxide, completely bypassing the endothelium and its age-related barriers and remaining fully functional regardless of how much your endothelial function has declined with age. You have lemon juice optimizing the acidity of the conversion environment and providing vitamin C that catalyzes the nitrite to nitric oxide conversion, maximizing the yield of nitric oxide from every molecule of dietary nitrate you consume. You have ginger, reducing blood viscosity through antiplatelet effects, adding thermogenic vasodilation through an independent heat-mediated mechanism, and reducing vascular inflammation across the system that would otherwise impair your blood vessels' responsiveness to nitric oxide. And you have raw cacao, inhibiting phosphodiesterase to prevent the breakdown of cyclic GMP, simultaneously stimulating endothelial nitric oxide synthase to add a second source of nitric oxide production, and providing magnesium and theobromine for additional vasodilation support through further independent mechanisms. Every ingredient in this formulation targets a different step in the blood flow process. There is no redundancy. There is only layer upon layer of complementary, synergistic support. Beet juice generates nitric oxide through the nitrate pathway. Lemon amplifies the efficiency of that generation. Cacao generates additional nitric oxide through the endothelial pathway and prevents the downstream signal from being degraded. Ginger ensures the blood itself flows optimally through the widened vessels. For preparation, I recommend this approach. Start with approximately 200 milliliters of fresh beet juice or high-quality organic beet juice without added sugars. Add the juice of 1 full fresh lemon. Add 1 to 2 teaspoons of freshly grated ginger root. Add 1 to 2 tablespoons of raw cacao powder. Blend everything together until smooth and thoroughly combined. Consume once daily. Regarding timing, there's considerable flexibility here depending on your individual goals. For general circulatory support and daily maintenance, consuming this blend in the morning allows the nitric oxide boost to support your circulation throughout your most active hours. For overnight vascular recovery and repair, consuming it in the evening before bed provides the compounds during the critical window when your body is performing its most intensive cardiovascular maintenance and repair processes. Some people choose to consume a smaller serving at both times for around-the-clock support. Experiment with timing and find what works best for your individual schedule and what produces the most noticeable benefits for you personally. One important practical note about beet juice and oral hygiene. Since the conversion of nitrates to nitrites depends critically on the bacteria on your tongue, it is important not to use antibacterial mouthwash immediately before or after consuming beet juice. Antibacterial mouthwash kills the very bacteria that perform this essential first conversion step, which can significantly reduce the effectiveness of the dietary nitrates. Regular brushing with toothpaste is perfectly fine, but avoid strong antiseptic mouth rinses in close proximity to your beet juice consumption. Quality matters with every ingredient. Fresh beet juice made from whole organic beets is ideal, though high-quality commercial beet juice without added sugars or preservatives is a perfectly acceptable alternative. Lemon should be fresh rather than bottled juice because fresh lemon juice retains more vitamin C and active citric acid. Ginger should be fresh root rather than dried powder. And cacao should be raw and unprocessed, not Dutched or alkalized cocoa powder, which has had most of its flavonols destroyed during processing. Consistency is always the key to meaningful results with any health intervention. The acute effects of beet juice on blood flow begin within hours and are measurable after a single serving. But the longer-term benefits on vascular health, endothelial function, and inflammatory balance build progressively over weeks and months of regular daily consumption. Make this a daily ritual, and the cumulative effects on your circulation can be genuinely transformative. The science is clear, the research is abundant, the mechanism is understood, and the results are reproducible. You now have the knowledge to take control of your cardiovascular health in a way that most people never will. You understand not just what to do, but why it works and how each component amplifies the others. That knowledge is power, and that power is yours to use. If this information brought you genuine value, please share this video with someone who would benefit from better blood flow and better cardiovascular health. Subscribe to this channel for more evidence-based health content that goes beyond the surface and explains the actual mechanisms of how your body works. Thank you for investing your time in understanding your health, and I'll see you in the next video.